So we're chatting with Eddie Robertson, who's a pastor at the ACC Church in Kalgoorlie. Mate, tell us a bit of your testimony. How did you come to know Jesus?
Well, in 1973, I was married, and about 1977, I was an alcoholic. I was drinking every night consistently, and the only reason I came home from the hotels is because they closed their doors at 11 p.m, and we knocked off at 2 p.m. At that time. I was working for a builder, and he said, if you work for me, we go to the pub at 2 p.m, and we stay there till stumps. In other words, when the end of the cricket game, which means the closing of the hotel. And from a social drinker, I progressed to a social drinker that drank every day and became subject to alcoholism that I couldn't get out of. And I was in a vortex going down, I felt, for the last time. And I one night I just cried out to God, if you're real, save me. And I believe it was a real heart cry to God. If you're real, you can save me and get me out of this situation, God, because I just feel like I'm in this vortex and I can't get out. I try to be good, but I can't. And I've promised my wife so often that I will never drink again, but I continually violate my promise. And even though I mean what I say at the time, I continue to betray her trust by being drunk again the very next day. And then my wife said to me one night, I knew I shouldn't have married you. And I said, well, how did you come to that conclusion, darling? And she said, well, a man at church told me that I shouldn't have married you. And I said, well, you're not going back to that bunch of hypocrites. They're marriage breakers. And I, in reality, was the hypocrite. I was the one hiding behind a facade. I was the drunkard, an angel in public and a devil in the home. And so we never used to have fights. We had wars because of my alcoholism. And anyway, one day a man came to Kalgoorlie who was a pastor, and the church at that time I was attending had no pastor, and they came to see why my wife, who is now married, and who once, when she was single, she attended this church. And he looked up the books and saw that she was no longer in attendance, and came to our home and asked me briefly, did I believe in God? I said, yes, as a matter of fact, I do. He said, mind if I come back in a week and have a more in-depth talk to you about that? Anyway, I had been on the railways, on the locomotives, and he had an accent. He was talking about the scriptures, and then he would talk about guard. And I thought he was talking about a guard on the railways. And I was thinking, hang on, I can't put this together. This guy's talking about a guard on the railways at one stage, and then he's talking about, the Bible. And then he said, do you want to be saved? And I thought, well, there's no lions or tigers in Kalgoorlie, and there's no raging surf or sharks in the surf here. You'd be surfing on the sand dunes. So I thought, what are you talking about? Do you want to be saved? And anyway, he explained the gospel to me and said, do you want to ask Jesus Christ into your life right now? And I thought, I am going to knock your head off your shoulders. And I clenched my fist to hit him, and then a sweeping change came over me, and I thought, I have been crying out to God, asking him to intervene in my life. Maybe this guy is the messenger. And so I agreed to go through the sinner's prayer with him. Then he grabbed both my hands from across the table, And then I thought he was a homosexual because I'd had men shake my hands, but I'd never had a man take both my hands. And I said this was totally abhorrent to me because there was no confusion about sexual gender in those days 40 years ago, and like there is today. And so I thought he was a homosexual. And I had my hands stretched right out like the long arm of the law. And anyway, I went through the sinner's prayer. I didn't see bolts of lightning or anything, but 24 hours later, I saw a man coming surreptitiously and nervously into my property, opening the gate and coming through the big cyclone gate that I had on my driveway. And he looked like he didn't want to be there, but he came. And I recognised him as the husband married to a girl who used to be in my class at school and knew my reputation. I thought, this guy is frightened to come, but he has come. And I thought, it's a brave man that does what he doesn't want to do, but does it anyway. And I thought to myself, if these people love me so much that they could send a man around to follow me up, the least I can do is respond to their love. And I went along to a Bible study, and he discipled me for 3 months, and I must have been knocking him over with the fumes that were emanating from my mouth because I was still drinking. And I said to him, Brother Dennis, is it okay to drink? He said, yes, you can drink as a Christian, but we have to look as an example to others. And so, you know, you have to consider whether you're going to be a stumbling block to other people. And I thought, yeah, if I go and have 2 beers at the pub and somebody has 20 and writes themselves off and kills somebody else,